Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. We're going to learn about Tsar Nicholas II's life in a simple and easy to understand way. Perfect for practicing your English listening. Birth, childhood and family. Nicholas II was born on May 18, 1868, in Pushkin, Russia. His full name was Nicholas Alexandrovich Romanov. He was born into the Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for over 300 years. His father was Alexander III, and his mother was Maria Fyodorovna, who was originally a Danish princess named Dagmar. Nicholas was not an only child. He had 5 younger siblings: Alexander, George, Xenia, Michael, and Olga. As the oldest son, Nicholas was the heir to the Russian throne from birth. His childhood was spent in luxury in the magnificent palaces of Tsarskoye Selo and Gatchina near St. Petersburg. Despite their royal status, Nicholas's parents believed in raising their children with discipline. His father, Alexander III, was a strict man who wanted to prepare Nicholas for his future role as emperor. Nicholas received military training from a young age and was taught to value order and tradition. His mother was more gentle and instilled in him a strong religious faith. The family was very close-knit, and Nicholas developed a deep sense of duty to his family and country. Education and formation. Nicholas received an extensive education befitting a future emperor. He had private tutors who taught him languages, history, economics, and political science. He became fluent in Russian, English, French, German, and Danish. His father insisted that he receive a military education as well, believing it would prepare him for leadership. In 1884, at the age of 16, Nicholas began his military service in the Preobrazhensky Regiment, an elite unit of the Imperial Guard. He rose through the ranks, gaining experience in different branches of the military. This military training was an important part of his formation, though some historians believe it did not adequately prepare him for the complex political challenges he would later face. Nicholas's education was somewhat limited in scope. While he learned about history and languages, he was not encouraged to think critically about politics or social issues. His father believed in autocracy, the idea that the Tsar should have absolute power, and Nicholas was taught to uphold this tradition. This educational approach would later affect his ability to understand and respond to the changing political climate in Russia. Early professional career. Nicholas's early career was primarily in the military, where he served in various regiments. He also represented his father at ceremonial events across Europe. In 1890 to 1891, he embarked on a grand tour of Asia, visiting Egypt, India, Singapore, Thailand, China, and Japan. This journey was meant to broaden his horizons before he assumed the responsibilities of leadership. During this tour, Nicholas had a frightening experience in Japan when a Japanese policeman tried to assassinate him. Though he escaped with only a small scar on his forehead, this incident may have contributed to his cautious nature later in life. Nicholas's professional development took an unexpected turn when his father died suddenly in 1894. At just 26 years old, Nicholas became emperor and autocrat of all Russia. He was unprepared for this enormous responsibility. His father had not involved him in matters of state, and Nicholas famously told his cousin, "I know nothing of the business of ruling. I have no idea of even how to talk to the ministers." Despite these doubts, he was determined to preserve the autocratic system his father had maintained. Personal life and relationships. The most important relationship in Nicholas's life was with his wife, Alexandra Fyodorovna. She was born Princess Alix of Hesse, a German principality, and was a granddaughter of Queen Victoria of England. Nicholas first met her when he was 16 and fell deeply in love. Despite some opposition to the match due to political considerations, they married in November 1894, just weeks after Nicholas became Tsar. Their marriage was unusually close for royal couples of that era. They were genuinely in love and remained devoted to each other throughout their lives. Together they had 5 children, 4 daughters, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia, and 1 son, Alexei, who was born in 1904. The family's happiness was overshadowed by a terrible secret. Alexei suffered from hemophilia, a blood disorder that prevents normal clotting. This condition, inherited through Alexandra's family line, caused the boy great pain and put his life in constant danger. The couple kept Alexei's condition secret from the Russian public, fearing it would be seen as a sign of weakness in the royal bloodline. Alexandra's desperate attempts to help her son led her to rely on Grigory Rasputin, a Siberian mystic who seemed able to ease Alexei's suffering when doctors could not. Rasputin gained significant influence over the imperial family, particularly Alexandra. This relationship would later damage the family's reputation and contribute to their downfall. Main achievements and contributions. Despite the challenges of his reign, Nicholas II oversaw some significant developments in Russia. Under his rule, Russia experienced rapid industrial growth. The Trans-Siberian Railway, the world's longest railroad, was completed, connecting Moscow with the Pacific Ocean. This massive project helped develop Siberia and strengthen Russia's position in Asia. Nicholas also introduced some limited reforms. In 1897, he established the gold standard for Russian currency, which helped stabilize the economy and attract foreign investment. He supported the Hague Peace Conferences of 1899 and 1907, which established important principles of international law and arms limitations. After the Revolution of 1905, Nicholas reluctantly agreed to create Russia's first elected parliament, the State Duma. He also issued the October Manifesto, which promised civil liberties and a constitutional monarchy. While these reforms fell short of what many Russians wanted, they represented significant changes to Russia's traditional autocratic system. Nicholas was also known for his personal charity work. He and Alexandra supported numerous hospitals, schools, and orphanages. They often visited wounded soldiers during World War I, with Alexandra and her daughters working as nurses. These humanitarian efforts showed a compassionate side to the imperial family, though they were often overshadowed by political events. Challenges and obstacles overcome. Nicholas II faced enormous challenges throughout his reign. When he became Tsar in 1894, Russia was experiencing rapid social and economic changes. Industrialization was creating a new working class with grievances about poor conditions and low wages. Revolutionary ideas were spreading, and many groups demanded political reforms. The Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905 was a major setback. Russia's defeat damaged national pride and revealed weaknesses in the military and government. This failure contributed to the Revolution of 1905, when workers, peasants, and middle-class Russians rose up against the Tsar's government. Nicholas initially responded with force but eventually agreed to limited reforms. World War I presented the greatest challenge of Nicholas's reign. Russia was unprepared for the scale of this conflict, and the war caused tremendous suffering. Food shortages, military defeats, and economic problems created widespread discontent. In 1915, Nicholas made the fateful decision to take personal command of the Russian army, leaving Alexandra to manage domestic affairs in his absence. This decision proved disastrous. Military failures were now blamed directly on the Tsar, while Alexandra's reliance on Rasputin created scandals at home. Public opinion turned sharply against the imperial family. By early 1917, conditions in Russia had deteriorated to the point that revolution became inevitable. Nicholas tried to address these challenges through a combination of repression and limited reforms, but he never fully understood the depth of Russia's problems or the need for fundamental change. His belief in autocracy and his reluctance to share power ultimately prevented him from finding effective solutions. Legacy and impact on the world. Nicholas II's legacy is complex and tragic. His reign marked the end of the 300-year Romanov dynasty and the collapse of the Russian Empire. The Russian Revolution that overthrew him in 1917 led to the establishment of the Soviet Union, which would play a crucial role in world history throughout the 20th century. The fall of the Romanov dynasty also influenced other European monarchies. After World War I, several other royal houses collapsed, partly due to the same forces that had undermined Nicholas's rule: nationalism, demands for democracy, and social unrest. The age of absolute monarchs was ending across Europe. Nicholas and his family's tragic end, their execution by Bolshevik forces in July 1918, shocked the world and created lasting sympathy for them. In 2000, the Russian Orthodox Church canonized Nicholas, Alexandra, and their 5 children as passion-bearers, recognizing their faith and suffering in their final days. Historians continue to debate Nicholas's role in Russia's turbulent history. Some view him as a well-intentioned but weak leader who failed to adapt to changing times. Others see him as a stubborn defender of outdated principles who missed opportunities to reform Russia peacefully. Most agree that he faced extraordinary challenges that would have tested even the most capable ruler. Today, interest in the Romanov family remains strong. Their story has inspired countless books, films, and documentaries. The discovery and identification of their remains in the late 20th century brought closure to one of history's great mysteries and allowed them to be properly buried with dignity in St. Petersburg. Nicholas II's life reminds us that even those born to great privilege face profound challenges and difficult choices. Despite his flaws as a ruler, Nicholas showed admirable personal qualities: devotion to his family, deep religious faith, and a genuine desire to serve his country. His story teaches us about the importance of adapting to changing times and understanding the needs of all people, not just the privileged few. Though his reign ended in tragedy, Nicholas II remains an important figure whose life helps us understand a pivotal moment in world history.